Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Lacking excess flesh. You can't be too rich or too thin. Not dense. A thin beard. Take off weight. Lacking substance or significance. A thin plot. Without viscosity. The blood was flowing thin. Lessen the strength or flavor of a solution or mixture. Very narrow. A thin line across the page. Lacking spirit or sincere effort. A thin smile. Lose thickness. Become thin or thinner. Make thin or thinner. Of relatively small extent from one surface to the opposite or in cross-section. Thin wire. Of sound, lacking resonance or volume. A thin feeble cry. Relatively thin in consistency or low in density, not viscous. Air is thin at high altitudes. Lacking excess flesh. Jan Cassius has a lean and hungry look. The property possessed by a line or surface that departs from the vertical. Containing little excess. A lean budget. Have a tendency or disposition to do or be something, be inclined. Cause to lean to the side. To incline or bend from a vertical position. She leaned over the banister. Cause to lean or incline. He leaned his rifle against the wall. Not profitable or prosperous. A lean year. Rely on for support. We can lean on this man. Lacking in mineral content or combustible material. Lean ore. Not dense. Trees were sparse. Take off weight. Cut down on. Make a reduction in. Reduce your daily fat intake. Take off weight. Be cooked until very little liquid is left. The sauce should reduce to 1 cup. Lessen the strength or flavor of a solution or mixture. Reduce in scope while retaining essential elements. Be the essential element. Put down by force or intimidation. Make smaller. Reduce an image. To remove oxygen from a compound, or cause to react with hydrogen or form a hydride, or to undergo an increase in the number of electrons. Narrow or limit. Reduce the influx of foreigners. Cook until very little liquid is left. The cook reduced the sauce by boiling it for a long time. Reduce in size. Reduce physically. Bring to humbler or weaker state or condition. He reduced the population to slavery. De-stress and thus weaken a sound when pronouncing it. Lessen and make more modest. Reduce one's standard of living. Lower in grade or rank or force somebody into an undignified situation. She reduced her niece to a servant. Make less complex. Reduce a problem to a single question. Reposition. A broken bone after surgery, back to its normal site. Simplify the form of a mathematical equation of expression by substituting one term for another. Undergo meiosis. The cells reduce. Take off weight. Make slender or appear to be slender. Take off weight. Being of delicate or slender build. A slim girl with straight blonde hair. Small in quantity. A slim chance of winning. Take off weight. Not convincing. A flimsy argument. Lacking substance or significance. Lacking solidity or strength. A flimsy table. A thin, strong, lightweight, translucent paper used especially for making carbon copies. Lacking substance or significance. A fragile claim to fame. Easily broken or damaged or destroyed. Fragile porcelain plates. Vulnerably delicate. She has the fragile beauty of youth. Lacking substance or significance. Slight evidence. A deliberate discourteous act, usually as an expression of anger or disapproval. Being of delicate or slender build. Watched her slight figure cross the street. Pay no attention to, disrespect. Quantifier used with mass nouns, small in quantity or degree, not much or almost none, or, with, a. At least some. There's slight chance that it will work. Lacking substance or significance. A tenuous argument. Having thin consistency. A tenuous fluid. Very thin in gauge or diameter. A tenuous thread. Without viscosity. In a small quantity or extent. Spread the margarine thinly over the meat. In a widely distributed manner. Thinly overgrown mountainside. Without force or sincere effort. Smiled thinly. The omission that is made when an editorial change shortens a written passage. Weed out unwanted or unnecessary things. We had to lose weight, so we cut the sugar from our diet. Cut down on. Make a reduction in. The employer wants to cut back health benefits. The act of penetrating or opening open with a sharp edge. His cut in the lining revealed the hidden jewels. Made neat and tidy by trimming. In baseball, a batter's attempt to hit a pitched ball. He took a vicious cut at the ball. Used of rates or prices, reduced usually sharply. Lessen the strength or flavor of a solution or mixture. Cut bourbon. Cut and assemble the components of. Cut recording tape. Used of grass or vegetation, cut down with a hand implement or machine. Reduce in scope while retaining essential elements. The act of cutting something into parts. His cuts were skillful. Refuse to acknowledge. She cut him dead at the meeting. Turn sharply. Change direction abruptly. The car cut to the left at the intersection. Be able to manage or manage successfully. She could not cut the long days in the office. Mixed with water. Sold cut whiskey. A refusal to recognize someone you know. The act of shortening something by chopping off the ends. The barber gave him a good cut. Sports. A stroke that puts reverse spin on the ball. Cuts do not bother a good tennis player. Style and tailor in a certain fashion. Cut a dress. With parts removed. The drastically cut film. A wound made by cutting. He put a bandage over the cut. Create by duplicating data. Cut a disk. Cease, stop. Cut the noise. Cut off the testicles of male animals such as horses. A piece of meat that has been cut from an animal carcass. Make out an issue. Cut a ticket. A trench resembling a furrow that was made by erosion or excavation. A remark capable of wounding mentally. The unkindest cut of all. Intentionally fail to attend. Cut class. A distinct selection of music from a recording or a compact disc. He played the first cut on the CD. The division of a deck of cards before dealing. He insisted that we give him the last cut before every deal. Of a male animal, having the testicles removed. A cut horse. Cuz to stop operating by disengaging a switch. Cut the engine. A canal made by erosion or excavation. Allow incision or separation. This bread cuts easily. An unexcused absence from class. He was punished for taking too many cuts in his math class. A share of the profits. Everyone got a cut of the earnings. A step on some scale. He is a cut above the rest. Discharge from a group. The coach cut 2 players from the team. Dissolve by breaking down the fat of. Soap cuts grease. Divide a deck of cards at random into 2 parts to make selection difficult. Wayne cut. Fashioned or shaped by cutting. A well-cut suit. Fell by sawing, hew. The Vietnamese cut a lot of timber while they occupied Cambodia. Film. An immediate transition from one shot to the next. The cut from the accident scene to the hospital seemed too abrupt. Form by probing, penetrating, or digging. Cut a hole. Form or shape by cutting or incising. Cut paper dolls. Function as a cutting instrument. This knife cuts well. Give the appearance or impression of. Cut a nice figure. Grow through the gums. The new tooth is cutting. Have a reducing effect. This cuts into my earnings. Have grow through the gums. The baby cut a tooth. Hit a ball with a spin so that it turns in the opposite direction. Cut a ping-pong ball. Make an abrupt change of image or sound. Cut from one scene to another. Make an incision or separation. Cut along the dotted line. Make a recording of. Cut the songs. Move one's fist. His opponent cut upward toward his chin. Pass directly and often in haste. We cut through the neighbor's yard to get home sooner. pass through or across. The boat cut the water. Penetrate injuriously. The glass from the shattered windshield cut into her forehead. Perform or carry out. Cut a caper. Reap or harvest. Cut grain. Record a performance on a medium. Cut a record. Separated into parts or laid open or penetrated with a sharp edge or instrument. The cut surface was modeled. Separate with or as if with an instrument. Shorten as if by severing the edges or ends of. Cut my hair. Stop filming. Cut a movie scene. The act of reducing the amount or number. The mayor proposed extensive cuts in the city budget. The style in which a garment is cut. A dress of traditional cut. Of pages of a book, having the folds of the leaves trimmed or slit. The cut pages of the book. Corrupt, debase, or make impure by adding a foreign or inferior substance, often by replacing valuable ingredients with inferior ones. Lessen the strength or flavor of a solution or mixture. Reduced in strength or concentration or quality or purity. Diluted alcohol. Lessen the strength or flavor of a solution or mixture. Become sparser. Make sparse. Thin out the young plants. Being of delicate or slender build. She was slender as a willow shoot is slender. Very narrow. Small in quantity. Slender wages. Having little width in proportion to the length or height. A slender pole. Lean and wrinkled by shrinkage as from age or illness. A shrunken old man. Reduced in efficacy or vitality or intensity. The dollar's shrunken buying power. Very thin, especially from disease or hunger or cold. A nightmare population of gaunt men and skeletal boys. Of or relating to or forming or attached to a skeleton. The skeletal system. Being very thin. A child with skinny freckled legs. Fitting snugly. Giving or spending with reluctance. Confidential information about a topic or person. He wanted the inside skinny on the new partner. Of or relating to or resembling skin. A person suffering from anorexia nervosa. Suffering from anorexia nervosa, pathologically thin. Causing loss of appetite. An anorectic, or anorexigenic, drug. A person suffering from anorexia nervosa. Suffering from anorexia nervosa, pathologically thin. Having a small waist. Having a small waist. Not taken up by scheduled activities. Spare time on my hands. Thin and fit. The spare figure of a marathon runner. Refrain from harming. Lacking embellishment or ornamentation. An extra car wheel and tire for a four-wheel vehicle. Give up what is not strictly needed. He asked if they could spare one of their horses to speed his journey. More than is needed, desired, or required. sleeping in the spare room. An extra component of a machine or other apparatus. Lacking in magnitude or quantity. A spare diet. A score in 10 pins, knocking down all 10 after rolling 2 balls. Kept in reserve especially for emergency use. A spare tire. Save or relieve from an experience or action. I'll spare you from having to apologize formally. Use frugally or carefully. Having long, slender legs. Having long, slender legs. Long and lean. Characteristic of the bony face of a cadaver. Being of delicate or slender build. Of a woman or girl, slender and graceful like a sylph.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.